Let's talk about something I think a lot of us struggle with. We're going to dig into a really powerful idea today, a real game changer for anyone who feels, well, stuck. We're talking about why clarity is your best tool for action, especially when that feeling of motivation is just nowhere to be found.
So, be honest. Are you waiting for it right now? Just waiting for that lightning bolt of motivation to strike so you can finally get started on that thing you've been putting off? Yeah, it's super common, and honestly, it's just a frustrating place to be.
We tell ourselves these little stories, don't we? You know the ones. Oh, once I feel motivated, then I'll get it done. Or, I just need to get in the right mindset first. My personal favorite is, I'll do it when I feel ready. But what if that whole way of thinking is actually the problem?
Okay, let's dive into what we can call the motivation trap. It's this belief we all seem to have that action has to start with a feeling. That you need to feel pumped up, ready, and inspired before you can actually do anything. It sounds so logical, right? But it's often the very thing that keeps us paralyzed.
This is the default setting for so many of us. It's baked into our whole culture of hustle and productivity. We think of motivation as this essential fuel for our engine. Without it, we think we're going nowhere. But we're here to poke some serious holes in that idea.
Let's be really clear about what motivation actually is. It's not some kind of superpower. It's an emotional state. And just like any other emotion, it comes and goes. It's totally inconsistent because it depends on your energy levels, your mood, even what you had for lunch. It's a fair weather friend, for sure.
And you know where this reliance on motivation really, truly falls apart? After burnout. If you've ever been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Waiting for motivation when you're burned out feels like waiting for it to rain in the middle of a desert. It's just not coming. And here's why. Burnout just wipes out the very resources that motivation needs. It creates this deep emotional fatigue where you feel like you have nothing left to give. You get decision overload, where even tiny choices feel overwhelming. And on top of all that, there's this crushing internal pressure to just snap out of it and get back to normal. So it really boils down to this simple, stark fact. If motivation is a fire, it needs emotional fuel to keep burning. But burnout is like a flood that soaks all of that fuel. The system is pretty much designed to fail you at the exact moment you feel like you need it the most.
But what if there was another way forward? A path that doesn't depend on how you're feeling at all? Well, there is. And that's what we're calling the Klariti alternative. It's a much more practical, stable, and honestly reliable way to get things done.
Just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got motivation. It's emotional, inconsistent, and it completely disappears when the pressure is on. But then you've got clarity. It's practical, it's stable, and it's available even when you're calm and low energy. It actually makes things simpler when you're under pressure. It's like a completely different operating system for your brain.
And this is the best part. When you start operating from a place of clarity, taking that next step doesn't feel like this big, dramatic, heroic effort. There's no big internal debate. It just feels obvious. It's the simplest, most logical thing to do next.
So how does this actually work? How do we get there? Let's break down the formula. It's actually a really simple process for taking action without all that pressure and internal fighting.
Okay, if you only remember one thing today, let it be this. We've got this sequence all wrong. We think it's feel motivated, then take action. But the real, more effective sequence is this. Action follows clarity, not emotion. You don't need to feel good to act, you just need to see clearly.
This is the process. It's called the Klariti Shift Method. And yeah, that's clarity with a K. It's just 3 steps. First, you focus on your state. Forget trying to force motivation. Just find a moment of calm. From that calm state, step 2 happens almost by itself. Clarity emerges. The very next step just becomes visible. And from there, step 3, action, feels surprisingly light.
Now, it's so important to get this. This is not about discipline. This isn't about white-knuckling it or forcing yourself to do things you hate. It's about alignment. It's about quieting down all that internal noise so that the path forward, which was there all along, finally becomes clear.
All right, let's make this super practical. How can you use this idea today, like right now? What is your next clear step? For probably your whole life, when you felt stuck, you've asked yourself this question, right? How do I motivate myself? How do I get the energy? Well, we're going to suggest you just throw that question out the window.
And you're going to replace it with this one simple question. What is the next clear step? Do you feel the shift?
This question doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't ask for energy. It bypasses that whole debate and just asks, what's the smallest, most obvious, next little thing I can do?
And this is what happens when you make that shift. This quote just says it all, really. I stopped waiting to feel motivated. Once I focused on clarity, I moved even on low-energy days. And that's the key. That's when consistency returned. Because when you can move on the bad days, not just the good days, that's when you really build momentum.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. What if all this time, our search for consistency wasn't about more effort or more hustle or finding some secret motivation hack? What if it was just about getting a little quieter and finding a little more clarity?